Well, all right. My question has to do previously about your point on just militarism and pornography. So knowing that the vast majority of war's victims are women, I think something over 60 or 70%, despite our America's very chauvinistic ideals about war making and just war. So besides that statistic that many of war's victims are women, what are some of the other immaterial connections between in your opinion, between pornography and the degradation of women and our military complex?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things, pornography and the conquest of women as prizes of war, as people who you expect to be able to purchase in the brothels surrounding every military base in the world, the U.S. military base, but every other reactionary military base as well, I would imagine. These are things that are patriarchy and the oppression of women are bound up with the ideology of reactionary armies. Armies in a lot of ways are a concentration of the society that they're fighting for and that they're creating. And so it's very revealing what you're saying about the victims of war are often women, but also in the U.S. military they use the objectification and pornography tremendously as a cohering force within their military, in the barracks, in the reward. I had a friend, we did a tour, a speaking tour. He had come out of the Iraq War. And he described, and actually several of the vets told me, as soon as they went through Fallujah and they decimated that city, they just pounded it and killed it and killed and killed, and they shot anything that moved. They had what they call the free fire zone. They could shoot anything that moved, including donkeys or women or children or anything. And so they did this, and then when they were done, everybody was traumatized. I mean, they were doing horrible things, they were committing war crimes, but they were going through PTSD and all this. And they all got sent, I can't remember what country, it was like Thailand or something. They all got sent for 2 weeks to go and just fuck everything that they could pay for. I mean, it was disgusting. And it's very codified, it's institutionalized in the way the military works. But it's also in the culture internally too. It's women in the military are more in danger of being raped by a fellow soldier than they are of being killed by enemy fire. So it's embedded in, and then on the flip side, sex is more and more equated as violence. I mean, they go in both directions. And this is like one of those things pornography this is like a bizarre and horrific thing about capitalism. Pornography has been a major driver of the development of the internet and internet technology. Because that's what's being profited off of, that's what's being promoted, and that's what there's a market for. This great new technology, internet, can do all kinds of wonderful things, but in this system, with this sick outlook and ideology and profit motive, that's what gets most produced, or as a big engine of it. And so, like I said, when I was doing research for this speech, you just find all kinds of nasty stuff on the internet. I mean, you can't help it if you open your email. Everybody's confronted by this all the time. But you go into the most grotesque scenes of Abu Ghraib or the torture, all of this is sexualized. It's the stripping prisoners naked and stacking them in pyramids, making them masturbate each other, torturing them and putting things in their anuses. It's the same thing the NYPD does. They just raped this guy, Michael Mineo, and they do it all the time. But it's the same thing that goes on in the military, and it's part of degrading those they conquer, and it's part of demeaning the women who are conquered and emasculating the men. And it's all bound up together. And those pictures of Abu Ghraib got mirrored and duplicated in pornography. And images of Iraqi dead women whose clothes have been torn off are also for sale as pornography on the internet. So you can find all this stuff. This is a sick culture, and the two things are completely bound up together. A reactionary military, a reactionary patriarchal way of life, and the means and methods and culture through which that military fights. And this is part of a movement for revolution and the revolutionary people. And in the future, when we have state power, a revolutionary army will be based on different principles. It would be based on mutual respect between men and women. Rape would not be tolerated. It wouldn't be a matter like in the military today that, oh, you don't want to ruin that young man's career, do you? oh, don't make such a big deal out of it, and then the woman often gets raped and harassed again and again by higher officers she tries to report to. This would be taken very seriously. Revolutionary society and a revolutionary movement would take as a cornerstone unleashing and getting rid of things that stand in the way of unleashing the conscious participation and the full participation of women, of half of humanity. And there would be different relations between men and women, and those would be enforced. So, I mean, it's a very important question you're asking.